Hello everyone! Welcome to this video where we're gonna be building a clone UI of Netflix, which you probably have already figured out by the title of this video. Where is this coming from? I have never built a clone UI myself throughout my whole career of web development, and as well when I was building my portfolio, I have never done that. So that's a challenge for you as well as for me. And I thought, why not bring you on this journey and kind of like, I don't know, show you how things in reality are, that we don't know everything, and we're just gonna see how we managed to do that. If you're wondering where this idea came from, I have an Ultimate API challenge where we're building everything that is based on APIs, JavaScript, and whatever is involved in that. And some of you have expressed the desire to have also the HTML and CSS part being built as a code-along video. So I decided let's go with Clone UI because why not? All the links are going to be in the description box below, so you're going to have the starter files, you're going to have the reference website, Netflix, and yeah. If you have anything to add or to improve for next time, as always, let me know in the comments. I'm always reading them, always answering. Let's go. Alright, so first let's go through what we're going to be building. You're probably familiar with Netflix, or I know in some countries you don't have Netflix, so maybe you are not familiar with that, but you probably have heard about it. So Netflix is a website. It has several routes, but we're going to be focusing on one specific route, which is the home, and we're going to be building the components there and the UI of it. Right now, though, we're on the movies section because in the home there is like a naked baby there, and I don't want to flash that. They kind of look the same, so let's just focus here, and once Netflix gets their act together, then we're gonna switch to home and we're gonna go there. But essentially all the elements are alike. We see that we have a navigation bar here, then we have like a main, usually in websites you call it like hero image, hero banner, but in Netflix I saw that they called it Billboard, so we're gonna be calling it Billboard as well. And then they have the rows with the suggestions of the titles that you can watch. It has like a special view when it comes to top 10, but apart from that, they all look the same. Also, don't judge my taste in movies because it has been a year. Okay, then we also have somewhere here, if I scroll to the very bottom, we have a footer. So we have like number, then we have Billboard, then we have titles, and then we have a footer. Okay. So we're gonna first build out the skeleton, then we're gonna start applying like the spaces of it and the height, and eventually we're gonna add like these special effects on hover. I don't know if you can see it, it's very subtle, but when you hover, like it has this fade out and fade in and transition and all of that. And we're gonna figure out how to do that, because I, to be honest, am not, let's just say that in my line of work, I don't do this every day. My line of work is heavily based on the JavaScript part, so that's gonna be a fun thing to also explore it myself and show you how huge the field of front-end development can be and how much you can learn and work with and continue learning endlessly here. So let's get started. So we're gonna be building this in React because there is no way I'm gonna do that in simple JavaScript, vanilla JS with CSS and HTML because that's too much. So you open your terminal and go to the folder, or to the directory, sorry, where you're gonna have the project, and then you can type npx create React app with dashes and my app. I'm gonna remove the my app because I want to name it Netflix Clone UI. So this is the name that your folder is gonna have, and press enter. Cool, we have it. So as you can see, I have it already open. Ignore the assets folder. This is something I have prepared for us to use later on. Just be sure that you have this folder here, Netflix Clone UI, or whatever you named your app. And let's open in our code editor of choice. I have Visual Studio Code. Wait a second, I need to cd to my Netflix clone, and then I can open it. Nice. Okay, so what do we have? We have our package JSON. The whole project right now at this point is just boilerplate. Also, we're not going to be using any CSS framework. We're going to try and challenge ourselves and do everything with pure CSS. It's a Sunday challenge yourself day. Let's roll with that. Let's maybe run our project to see what we have. And here in the terminal, they told us that you can run several commands like yarn start to start the development server. And that's what we're gonna do, yarn start. Cool. So this is the most boilerplate that you can have from React. And that's how it looks like. We're gonna be removing all of that because we're not gonna be using it. Let's see where our app starts. So if you're not familiar with React, it's a JavaScript framework that makes our life more simple, especially when you're building like full-blown applications like Netflix or any other bigger websites, because if you want to keep track of everything in just vanilla JavaScript, that's going to be very hard. Plus, the benefit of it, and you're going to see later how we do that, is that our CSS can be scoped to the element that we're building. So you don't need to worry about one button overriding another button and so on and so forth. So while of course you should not be just jumping on frameworks and libraries just because, you also need to recognize the benefit of frameworks and that there is a reason why they exist. And we're gonna be using them today. So we have our index.html. In the index.html, how React works is that you define a div with an ID, usually root, and then we have an index file in the source folder where we do document.getElementById, or React does, and it searches for this div and renders all the app inside of it, which is essentially our app component. Now, if we go to our app component, this is exactly what we're seeing in here. Let me put them side by side for a second so we're going to see what we're doing. Yep. Also, many of you have mentioned that my font was too small in the previous videos, so I have improved it, I hope. Let me know in the comments if that's okay size for the font and if you can see properly what I'm writing on the screen. Cool. So let's remove all of this. Okay, no, not all of this. Let's just remove the header. Save it, and now this needs to update. Yeah, blank page. That's what we like, and that's what we're gonna be working with. Okay, remove the logo, we're not going to be needing that one. So we said that we have our navbar. Let's zoom out. We have a navbar, we have the billboard, we have the titles, and we have somewhere down the line the footer. Let's just create those things here. We're going to have our navigation, or you can call it navbar. I always say that it really doesn't matter how you name, like, of course it matters how you name billboard. Of course it matters how you name things, but there is no like strict rule to which you need to adhere to in order to be correct. As long as it makes sense, as long as it's describing well enough what's in it within the context of your app, you're fine. Then we have titles, which could also be probably main or something of that kind. And then we have footer. Now they're all red because we don't have them, so let's create those folders. Now we're gonna have like a little bit of an intro to React structure, which is, let's create the navigation. You create a folder called navigation. Inside of the folder, you create an index.js. I'll tell you later on why. I have a shortcut, like a hotkey combination that I do, so I don't need to type it every time. Basically what it looks like is like you import something from something and then you export it. And in our case, it's going to be navigation. So import navigation from navigation and export the navigation. Save it. Right now it doesn't exist. We're going to create now the navigation.jsx. And here I have an RCC thing as well, which comes from an extension. If you're interested in any of those, let me know in the comments. I can maybe upload like a separate video for that, or just like drop in the next video in the description box below or somewhere, just like a GitHub link to those files or to like an instruction where to find those things. But you can also type it yourself for the time being. Essentially, it looks like this. You import React from React in every component. That's the file of our component. Then you create a function, which is going to be our component, and then you just export it and you save it. I chose .jsx because that's like the language of React. I'm not really sure what's the big difference between a file called JS and a file called JSX. I don't know. Maybe you know. If you know, let me know. If you're gonna name it navigation.js, it's also gonna work perfectly fine. as far as I know. What we did in the index is basically taking that file component that we just created and exporting it. Why do we do that? Is because once we go to the app and we want to import our component, we do import navigation from, we go one level up and we go to, oh no, wait a second, what did I do? No. In the source folder, we need to create components folder, and there we're gonna put the navigation. Yeah, it didn't make sense. So now we go one level up and then we go to navigation. If we would not have done the import export thingy in index.js of the navigation, you would have to write them here also navigation. And eventually it can just look just like a little bit messy, and just go with that. Why not? Let's comment those ones because they're gonna give us an issue. I'm gonna comment them one by one. In our navigation, by the way, the styles, so the CSS that we're gonna be using, we're gonna create a file called navigation.module.css. That's called module CSS, which is what I was talking about before, where you don't need to worry that your button in the footer style is going to override the button in the navigation style, because they're all scoped. We're going to see later on in the inspector how React actually attaches them to the DOM, or like creates them for the DOM. For example, if we have a button on our navigation and we just call it a button in the style, then when you inspect it in the DOM, it's going to be navigation_button. You know, so that's how the scoping works. We need to also import the styles, and the way you do that is you write import styles from, just select the module CSS. And the way we're going to be applying those styles is going to be class name, because in React you use class name, not class. Styles.navigation, for example. And in here you write navigation, and let's say background color red. And then we go to our React app, and there we go. We have our navigation, it's background color red, and the title or the naming comes from here. It's now centered, and this is not something that we have defined, so it tells me that there are some CSS styles that are applied, and there they are. So in index CSS, we don't want to have that, because we're gonna have our own stuff. See how I commented it and now the font changed? And now there is the app.js, which we are importing somewhere in the app probably. Yeah, app CSS, yeah. Okay, so if we comment that as well, you see, now it's like that. We need a thing called normalize CSS, which is basically going to normalize all the styling across browsers, because browsers have a different set of default styling that they apply to pages. And in order for our app to look somewhat consistent throughout all those browsers, we need to normalize them. There is this raw CSS file that we can copy. Let's call it normalize.css. This one I'll link in the description box below, so you can just like copy paste it. You definitely don't want to type that whole thing. This is like a regular one that people tend to copy paste. Oh, and why do we need to copy and paste it and create this file? Because we're not going to be using any frameworks or library for CSS, and usually they already come with this included, and that's why we need to include it ourselves. Okay, so we have that, and hopefully okay, right, I didn't import the normalized CSS anywhere. I always forget that. I create a file and then I was like, oh no, the styles do not apply. Normalize.css. There we go. Save it. Cool. But why is there this thing? What did I do? Let's inspect it. Why do we have this little one? That's our div. That's our HTML. That's our body. Is it because, oh wait, I think it's because the paragraph has like yeah, okay, fine. So if we go to our navigation and we're gonna just remove the paragraph tag, then it should be fine. Yeah, cool. All right. Another thing that I want to do before we go ahead is to add a .prettier.rc file, which is gonna help me to format all the code that I'm writing. I don't want to format it by myself. Let's continue now and create our billboard. By the same convention that we created those ones, let's create our billboard, titles, and footer. I'm gonna speed through that because you don't need to. Just take your time, do it, stop the video, and then come back. Alright, we have all of them, and now let's import all of them the same way as we did with the navigation. And if we save it, there we go! Let's maybe assign different colors to them. Billboard can be green, yellow. Then our footer can be blue, and our titles can be orange. Let's have it orange. Yay! So we have our main structure. Now we're gonna start with our navigation. Let's go with navigation, right? And let's check in Netflix. What do we have in our navigation? So we have our logo. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 links. And then we have a separate navigation, which is kind of like we have a search input here, then we have a little icon and another functionality and this functionality. Yeah, okay. So let's start with these ones here. Let me close this bar here. The navigation consists of a logo, so it's an image, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items, so which are probably gonna be a UL with their own LIs, and then we're gonna fill it out. Since the styling of these items is the same, we're gonna be creating a loop. So let's say const nav items. First one is gonna be home, then it's gonna be TV, shows. I'm definitely telling you that's not how it is in real life, because real life you also have translations, so there is no way that this is hard-coded somewhere. It's probably retrieved through a translation API or library or something similar. And we have my list. But since we're not working with an API today, but if you do, let me know, because I love working with APIs, we're gonna be just hard coding it. And now in our UL, nav items dot map, you open parentheses, you pass on the item, you open parentheses again, and here you're gonna have an li tag with the item, because that's the only thing we have. As simple as that, just to display it. You can also just hard code them if you don't want to do any looping over. If that's too much for you, that's absolutely fine. Just create a UL as we had before and just do like an li. So let me show you. Instead of this loop, let me comment it, you're gonna just have li home. No? Then another li, and you're gonna have TV shows like that. So that's absolutely fine. Just remember that any class that you're gonna be applying, you will need to apply to all of them. And that's all. There is really not that big of a difference if you want to go one way or another. The only thing in React loops, you need to pass on a key as well, and we're gonna pass it just as an item because that's the requirement of React. And you see that once I saved it, everything went kind of like formatted, and that's what Prettier does. If we go to our React app, that's what we see now. So we have our UL with our list items. And why do we have this margin? Because probably UL has it. So let's create a class name called navigation list, styles.navigation list. You can absolutely camel case your classes when it comes to module CSS. So the navigation list, which is our UL item, we're gonna remove the disks that we see there. We're gonna do list style, and we're gonna do none. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, we also have a margin. Let's margin 0. Why is that not doing that? Margin 0. Oh, that's a padding. Sorry. So padding 0. Let me show you where I saw that. So we had the margin first, and when I went to compute it with the UL selected, I saw that in here there is a padding of 40, which means that I need to, what I'm looking for is to reset the padding. Now that I saved it, we don't see the padding anymore. Cool. And now we have a list like that, but we want it to appear this way. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using a display flex. Let me show you how to do it in the browser, because I use Google Chrome and they have like this new cool update that you can do the display flex with like a menu, you know, so you don't actually need to write it and guess it. You can just like click. Let me show you. So first you need to write display flex, and you write it on the UL. So UL is, I just call it UL, it's unorganized, unordered list, that's what it means. Now it put everything in one row. What we essentially do is we reset the display property of the UL. So initially it's a block, and now we set it to flex. And what I wanted to show you is that in Chrome there is this button here. Now you can try things like Let's, for example, these people are not gonna see. Let's do this. So justify content space between, and it applies this, so it's kind of like stretches it and adds this even space between, and then it applies it here. So then you can just like copy this and put it in your styling. You're gonna save it, and now it's applied. If you refresh it, it's still there. And also remember I told you about scoping of the CSS. Look how our class looks like now. Navigation underscore navigations list underscore some kind of like code, and that's how we know that they're not gonna override each other. Okay, that was a lot of information. Let's get back to our navigations, and that also rhymes. Nice. What a treat you're having today. Okay, we don't need the space between, we actually don't need anything anymore. So we can just remove the space between, and the only thing that we need is a little bit of a margin. Let's inspect this one. I'm gonna put the inspector at the bottom, so this way we can keep the width of the screen. So an li has a margin left of 18 pixels. So we can do a navigations list. You can or target it via navigation list, or we can create another class here, class name, which is going to be styles.navigationItem, right? Because why not? Let's save it. Now we go here, .navigationItem, and here we're going to have margin left. I always need to put up a hand to understand which margin it is. Margin left. Please tell me I'm not the only one. And we're going to do REM because why not? So here's what we're having. It's hard to imagine that it's gonna look the same like this, right? So let's maybe change our background color of the whole app. Let's check what's the background color of Netflix. Let me open this up. If we go to their body, they have a background. This one. I'm just gonna copy the value. We are going to go to our app CSS or to our index CSS, I think. Let's uncomment this and remove the code. We don't need that. Background color, and paste the value that we just got. So now we at least have this. They have a font, which I already checked. This font is not for free, so we're not going to be purchasing a font for Clone UI. As with everything, you first have like, here we are, the font family. So first you have like the main font, and if that's failed to be downloaded, then it's going to go to the default ones here. And I think the first default that we can actually have in here without anything downloaded is Arial. So that's what we're going to be using. We're going to do font, family, Arial. I know you have Helvetica. Yeah, cool. Does it look the same? Looks better. Let's check what's the size of this. Right, they also have a different color for it. So let's go. We can close our bar, close the index, and in our navigation, is everything going to be this color? I think all text we have is going to be this color. So we can just put it here as a main. Color is going to be this one. Save it. And if we go now, yeah, that's it. Also, why do we have like this massive margin here on top? Where does that come from? From the UL? I thought we reset it. Huh, we didn't. Okay. So let's also reset the margin because we really don't need that. And now, where is this height coming from? Oh, because we have the image there. Okay, fine. The image, I have prepared it. Netflix has a media kit which you can download, and they have all the logos that you can use and how you can use them, and I took it from there, optimized it. I'm using Photoshop for that. I could actually optimize it even further, but that's fine. And I just cut it like to the size that we're actually gonna use it in our website, not to overload the fetching of the website's data in production. That's also important. Like when you're working with assets, you really want to ensure that you're only loading the size of the asset that you need, so you're not fetching way more than you need, because that's just gonna make your users not enjoy the website because it's gonna load way longer, it's gonna be slower. So do take care of that. In the navigation, we're gonna create a folder called assets. I don't know if that's the best practice, but I hear that this is something that people do. I do that as well. That's why we're gonna be doing it this way. You could also create in a public folder and put there the assets, but we're gonna go with this one. Let me just copy that. So these ones are gonna be available to you on GitHub. I'm gonna include them on GitHub, and I'm gonna link it below in the description box. So what we're interested in is this logo PNG. It needs to be a PNG because we need to have a transparent background. Where's the copy? Copy. Why I don't have a paste here? Copy it from here. I'm gonna go here. Source, components, navigation, assets. There we go. Cool. And there we have it. Our tiny little Netflix. Oh, that looks horrible. But it needs to be tiny, so that's fine. We don't need like a super proper resolution here. So let's import logo from assets/logo. And this way we can just do our source like this, logo, and we're all right. And here we're gonna write logo. Oh my, it actually looks pretty bad, doesn't it? However, what I do see now is that it doesn't go in the same line, and that's because our flex is on the navigation list, although it needs to be on the navigation. We need to also have a display flex for this body here. Yeah, and now it's good. Okay, let me remove the red because now it's just disturbing. Gray, let's put gray. Okay, it's not that bad on the gray. They need to all be aligned on the same kind of like level, and we're gonna align them center. So if you could like draw a line here in the center, you would see that they all are on the same line. You know what, let's first check the height of this bar, which is 68. We're gonna do height 68 pixels. Usually navigation bars are defined in pixels because it's quite specific. Yeah, okay, nice. Now our logo is stretching itself because we didn't give it a width. So the width of the logo is 92.5. And I checked the responsiveness, and I think that the logo, it goes smaller, but it never goes bigger. So we need to define a max width for our logo. Class name, styles.logo, and we're gonna go in here. We're gonna write .logo, and the max width is gonna be 92 pixels. I don't wanna do like 92.5. It's a little bit ridiculous. Yeah, and now we need to define the height of it, which is going to be auto. No? Really? Okay, then we're gonna use feed content. Why didn't it work with auto? Isn't that how you preserve the ratio, the image? I guess not. Okay, so now you see that we have like all this space there, and we need to align all of them in the center. And that's what we're gonna be doing with flex. That's one of the properties that flex gives us. Where was it? It's align items center. Yep, that goes into the navigation. And why it didn't work with those little items is because they have their own display flex inside of the UL. If we select them, where's their flex? Here, and we tell them align, they're also gonna align. So where we have the display flex, also add align items center. Another point is that this font is way smaller than what we have. It's 11.5. Let's do 0.8 REM. So what's an REM? If a user has a default in their browser set to, let's say, 25 pixels, then the REM is gonna take these 25 pixels and equal to 1 REM and then scale the whole website accordingly. So if we have 0.8 REM, it's gonna take the reference of 25 and calculate whatever it is in 0.8. Usually as a baseline, 1 REM tends to be 16 pixels. And in order for that to work, you don't need to set on the body a font size of like 10 pixels because then you're overriding this behavior. So where were we? Font size is gonna be 0.8 REM. Let's move here, save it. That one looks fine, right? I think that's okay. Cool. Then we have this side of the navigation. Let's do that one. How are we gonna call it? Let's create a separate component for that. I think Netflix calls it secondary navigation. Yeah, so we're gonna call it as well, secondary navigation. Secondary navigation. Let's create the folders that we need for it. In components, create a folder, secondary navigation, create a file, index.js, etc. That's my, so import, export, then create a secondary navigation.js6, RCC, secondary navigation. Awesome. The styling, of course. Secondary navigation.module.css. Import styles from module.css. Not style, styles. Cool. So now if we go here, it's not defined. What is not defined? Is that in the navigation area? Yeah, because we didn't import it. Import secondary navigation from. Yeah, cool. The only thing I don't like is that it does this, because probably on this width of the screen, the secondary navigation is just gonna be a tiny thing. I know, okay, the browse goes. For starters, we're gonna do desktop, because if we're gonna go to all the details, like, whoa, there is a massive amount of teams working on the Netflix website, which is probably working only on the desktop one. And then there are like apps, then there is responsive. You can actually see that if you hover here on the bell, look at the design. there is transparency, there is like a bar on the top. There is actually like a little triangle here if you look at it. Then we go to this one and it looks a little bit different, right? It has the triangle, but it has, I think it's a little bit darker even than this. A little bit, right? The opacity is not the same. And then you go here, which is again different. Like there is border radius, there is no triangle here anymore. The paddings are way bigger here than here. See, and here. So I'm telling you, just for like this one little part, there is probably a whole separate team for that works on it. And that's why, my friends, we're going to be focusing only on the desktop part today. If you want to also do the mobile part or like the very responsive part, then let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to record that. But this video is probably already going to be long. I can tell you already that. Because I also want to keep it like raw and show you how we do things, because in the previous, I had other videos for the Ultimate API Challenge. I'm not necessarily rushing through there, but I am cutting out a lot of the things to just kind of like deliver you with the result. And in this one, I wanted to take on another format, and I know that it's going to be long, so we're not going to be sitting here the whole day doing all of it. But we're probably going to split it into parts and take it part by part. So desktop, that's what we're doing. After all of this, where were we? We were creating the secondary navigation. So let's go to the secondary navigation and go to our app. We're also going to put the console down here, so then we at least have somewhat similar experience to the tab when we jump here. And I already see that this font is already too big for it. Do they have like a space here dedicated? No, it's also a flex. Wait, what? So when you hover on this element, which is this one, you see these are the two elements. So in blue we have the two elements, and the purple thing shows a space. So where does this element live in the dome? Is it just floating? Yeah, it's a position absolute. Okay. Why? We're not gonna be doing position absolute. We're gonna be doing like normal people stuff. I mean, Netflix probably is also normal, but not my thing. I'm still not sure why, but okay, so secondary navigation. First of all, let's push this secondary navigation here to this side on here and then have the space here. In order to achieve that, we need to play a little bit around with our flex thing again. We need to separate our left navigation, like main navigation, and our secondary navigation and push them aside, like give like a space between them. In order to achieve it, we're gonna put a div here, and then it's gonna wrap it into one child. A little bit messed up right now, but we're gonna figure that out later on. We can now apply a class. Where's the navigation here? We can now apply space between, and now there's space between. So let's copy that and paste it in our navigation. CSS. Where is our navigation? Here we are. Justify content was space between. Save it. The only thing that we need to fix now is this part. If we would have gone Netflix way and we would just put it like a position absolute, then it would not have affected this part of our Netflix navigation. But it just feels a little bit wrong to do it like that. I mean, they very, very likely have their own reasons, but we're not gonna do it like that. Now we have a div that has two elements, which are block elements, and that's why they appear one under the other. If we're gonna add another display flex here, is that gonna solve it? Or is that like too much to ask? No, it is gonna solve it. Okay, so we just need another class. Let's call it styles.main navigation, and then we have another one with secondary navigation. If we would have used a library, then we could have just applied like a deflex on it in case bootstrap or class without defining those classes here, which sometimes can be nicer, to be honest, because especially if you want just like to add display flex and you have to create a whole style for that. Not that it actually like not hard, but it's just like going like back and forth and instead of just like applying that class somewhere. But hey, we signed up for this challenge and we're going for it. What do we have here? We have a search, a bell icon, and we have the settings. So let's start. Let's just write it down. Search icon or just search. I think it's the only search functionality on the website. Then we have notifications, user profile, user menu. Let's call it user menu. Then we have some Billboard settings, because this setting is actually doing this. You can allow preview and then it's gonna start working, or you're gonna allow sound and so on. Let's create those things as always. Okay, let's comment one by one, and we're gonna create first our search and then our notification and so on and so forth. Let's maybe just like copy one and then just paste, and we'll call it search. And then in here we're gonna change this to search, change the name to search, search. And now let's import it. Import search from search. Okay, now if we go to our search, we know that we're gonna be, first of all, how it looks like a search. Okay, what else do we need? We need our icon here. We can actually create it inside of here and call it search icon.jsx. Search icon. There's not going to be any functionality. That's just going to be the SVG. Open with, this is the SVG. Just going to copy it, paste it here, save it, and let's see if I can use it. Search icon. Yeah, nice. Oh, that's so exciting. Okay, so I have the search icon, the little part. Now let's do the same thing with the bell notification and everything. So search icon, then we have our bell notification, copy, and in the components we're gonna paste it, call it notifications, copy this, the name, because then I do Command D on Mac and I just find all the occurrences and replace them. Notifications, this one is going to be small, so this one is going to be notifications with a small letter, notifications, and here notifications. And the SVG for the notifications is bell. I call it bell. Beautiful. Again, copy notifications icon, select the SVG, paste it, and boom. We don't have it because we didn't import it yet. Secondary navigation, notifications, copy this one down, notifications. There we go. And as you can probably guess, this div is going to also have a display flex because now they're going to be one under another. User menu. Let's copy notifications, paste it. So in here, gonna speed through that so you're not gonna fall asleep here. We're not gonna have a user menu icon. We're just gonna have a div, just placeholder, styles dot user. Here we're gonna have the user, and it's gonna have a width of, let's say, 50 pixels and height of also 50 pixels. And the color of it is gonna be gray. And we need to import it in our secondary navigation. Boom, user menu. Yeah, now we don't see it because both of them are the same color, but it's okay. What else do we have? Billboard settings. Last one. Now that I'm starting like to always copy and paste, I think that a smarter idea would have been to name the main class of the div container or box. Why would I need to write all this long name? I think box looks amazing, but whatever. Now we need the billboard icon, new file. I'm gonna just name it settings icon because I cannot. Let's just copy an icon that we already have. For example, in the search, that was an amazing icon. Command A, Command C, settings icon. Yep, boom. And now let's go and open our settings. Open with Visual Studio Code, Command A, Command C, select the SVG, paste, save, secondary navigation, the JSX file, board settings, and then we have it here, save, and now we should see something, or maybe not, because our height is maxed out here. So in order to fix that, let's do this class name, and let's actually do what we said before. So we're gonna name it styles.box, box and display flex. But what is happening? Do we have? Oh no, what happened? User menu, but our settings icon is not there. Why? Did we import it? No, we didn't import it. Okay, import settings icon, and then we want to include it here. Nice, cool. Now again, we need to put them all to be on the same line. Secondary navigation, styles box, and here, what did we do last time? Align items, right? It was center, save. Yay, nice. They probably have margins between them. Check this div. They do have a margin, 15 pixels. In our case, it's gonna be 1 rem because we're aiming for like 16 pixels. That is one REM, and that's gonna be fine. We can do it like that. How can we target those ones? So I would not go inside of the component and set the margin there, because how I like to think about items is that you create an item and it's just as is, it's an item, and then wherever you want to use it in the context of whichever thing you have, then you add the margin there. You know what I mean? Let's say we have the bell notification and we want to use that one in the navigation. And the navigation has a set of rules that it needs to have a margin. But let's say we want to use it in a side navigation where it doesn't have the same amount of margin, but you still want to use the same component. So instead of like doing this margin stuff inside of the component, the parent should be the one deciding how much margin which component is going to have within its context. Does it make sense? That's how I like to think about it, and that actually saves you a lot of time and effort, because imagine you would need to pass a parameter to the component to be like, hey, I'm in this navigation, or hey, I'm in this navigation. I mean, sometimes you need, but when it comes to styling and to a set within a parent, then I would suggest to do it on the parent instead of the child. And in our case, the parent is the secondary navigation and all of these are its children. So the question still stands, how are we going to target it? So if we check Netflix, they actually have here a div that is this, a div that is that, a div. So maybe we could also wrap it in a div, but would that make sense? I mean, yeah, let's do that. Let's do div dot nav item, and I press tab, and that's how I get it. Styles dot nav item, copy it down, and now if we go to our nav item, or not go, create it, we're gonna have margin, or was it the right 1 area. And I keep on watching on this website as if it's gonna change something, but no. Interesting. Oh, okay. So I didn't close it properly here. Yeah, nice. Okay, now should we attempt and try and change the size of it? What if I change it here? I absolutely dislike doing it like this, and I think I'm messing it up. I'm also not the biggest pro in SVGs. I don't know if I need to change this view box. No, I don't. Do I? Like, if you understand SVGs, please let me know. Do I need to change the view box? I don't think I need to. It looks fine to me. Notifications icon. Ooh, that's a big one. Let's do 18. No, this one will be 15. This one will be 18, right? Deciding about the ratio just like that on the flow. Why not? Does that look okay? Yeah. I think they have a way bigger margin than we have set up, even though we did take theirs. Never mind. Let's also remove this background so we can see this element that we have here. Where is it? It's in navigation. Remove it. Where is our div here? I thought we were gonna have it, but we don't. User menu, user, and then this one. Interesting. Where is it? That's our user menu. What if we do red? Okay, so the element is there, but we're not seeing it. User menu.module, that's how we call it, right? I mean, yeah, it reads the CSS because we do have it here. What did I do? And we are clearly exporting it because, again, we have it here and it sees it. So what happened? At our normal region? At our region? Here. Why we cannot see it? I'm really challenged right now. I don't understand what's happening. What? Oh. It needs to be background color. Oh my god. This, my friends, is what the heat is doing to you. We have a very, very hot weekend here, and a week in general, and it's clearly melting some brain cells. Let's do it smaller. Let's do it like 35. This again, once you have like small icons, it's okay not to do them in REM because this is like an image, and there are times where you do want an REM, but most of the time you probably want the image in pixels because it has like ratios and things, and that's just how I see it. And we have a slight border radius, so let's do 2 pixels. Do we like more the 4? I feel like it's more like a 3. I know it's funny because no, it's probably a 4. Anyway, probably nobody's gonna notice that, so that's okay. Let's continue. Yeah, that's I used to be an architect, so I have like this have to be precise, otherwise the freaking building is not gonna match. You're gonna end up with one wall that is not ending at another wall, and that's a no-no. So anyway, they still have a little bit more space than we have, so let's increase that. Let's go to our secondary navigation, and every item, what if we put 1.2 rem? 4, 5, 6? Does it change anything? What if I put like 3? Yeah, of course it changes. Oh, but actually 2 looks nice. 2.5? Yeah? No, too big. Let's do 2.25. Let's do 2. Yeah, sounds like a very solid decision. Let's remove these commands. Where was it? Secondary navigation. Here. 2. Save. Nice. Look, all the things that we have here. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, those are probably should be buttons. But we're not going to go there yet. We're just building the structure. So I think it's safe to say that we have our navigation bar. How cool is that? One thing though, you see they have like space here, and that space is for all their elements. So we're gonna apply this. How much is it? It's a padding of 40. Okay, so we're gonna go to our app CSS because that's an app thing. We're gonna delete everything except of our app. I don't know why they actually did a padding where you can do a margin. Isn't that like usually that you do a margin for that? Like 0 and then 40 pixels? Just makes sense, at least to me, more sense to have it as a margin rather than a padding. Also, another thing that I'm seeing here is that these ones are aligned to the right, but I'm pretty sure that we want to align them to the left because they're like left side navigation. Is it left? No, it's right side navigation. Okay, yeah, I'm okay. Let's align them to this side, okay? I promise, I know right and left, but it's just like, sometimes it's confusing. Plus I'm seeing like in the camera where my hands go and it's just like, I'm out. So that's gonna be, we have a class that is called the nav item, this one. Is it gonna work if we're just gonna do text align? And we're gonna choose right? No, it's not gonna. Okay, that's worth a try. So why it doesn't happen? Because we have this one. Oh, okay. That's why it happens, because we have a margin right. We don't need to align anything. We can just do a margin left. Yeah, nice. That was a very good example of when we ourselves write classes and then we kind of like expect one behavior, so we want the spacing, right? But I didn't think forward how it's going to affect the position of the element, and I went on and I tried to align the element in a way that it's going to overwrite the margin that I have already put. So you know what I mean? It's like, that's not what you want to do. Clearly, you want to see and check if already the things that you have applied, the styling that you have already defined for those elements, is actually causing the thing that you're battling with. And in our case, it was. So margin left it is, not margin right. Okay, so apart from this very high quality, high resolution logo, I think our navigation is done. The only thing is that these are not navigation items. Okay, that's gonna annoy me, and that's incorrect to have it like that. Where's our navigation? These ones, because they are leading to their own routes, so as in this Netflix, this goes to browse, this goes to TV shows, new and popular, and my list. We're not going to be doing any routing, but we need to account that this is a link, and a link is what? Is an A with an href. Do you also say href, or you say href? No, you probably don't. Do you? Let's just like set them by default to go to the main, and you see they are visited links because that's our home path. And now we need to style this a little bit just so it's not gonna look this horrendous. Navigation item, but this is not the navigation item, this is the A inside of the navigation item. So we need to do dot navigation item A, because that's fine. I don't want to create like another class for the A. So the color is going to be inherit which will mean that it's going to take the color that we set somewhere. So it's going to find the first color that we defined once it goes higher and higher and higher. So let's say if we would have defined here red, but in the body we would have defined pink, then it's gonna find this first and it's gonna be red. At least that's how I know it. Again, I was the girl who just was mixing like margins left and right, so try it out and let me know if I'm right or wrong. Then our text decoration is gonna be done, and our cursor is going to be a pointer. So now every time we hover, we have these things. Yay! All right, so do the billboard. Or you know what? Let's do the footer. The footer is gonna be blasting fast. Maybe I'm gonna regret saying that later on, but I think it's gonna be pretty straightforward, and at least we're gonna have it and it's gonna look like more. We'll have more things done than just this. Let's scroll to the bottom. We have 4 icons, which I have also already prepared. And then we have all of these links, which are linking also to the Netflix website, just to a route there. Actually, this one is not. This one is another website. It doesn't matter. It's a link, and we know that. And if we inspect it, then we see that it's a flex box. Surprise, surprise. So it has social links, and then it has the main links. And the style of it is that it's a list with all of them, and they just go one after another and kind of like wrap it up together. So that's very easy to do. Let's go with that. So here we're gonna have a return social links and links, just regular links. Social links. We're gonna put it as is like this, and then we're gonna have just regular links. Maybe we can call it footer links, because if we just put a component called links, that can be a little bit confusing. And social links, we can also, should we? No, that's fine. And all of that is gonna be wrapped in a footer tag with a small f. Yeah, because it's an HTML tag. And let's import it and create it. Let's now create those. And as well, I'm gonna do just box because nope, we're not doing this mistake again. Cool, we got this, right? We broke it. There we go. This one for some reason doesn't want to do anything. All right, we have social links, which I said it should be blue, but why is it not blue? I didn't use it. Class name, styles.box. Boom, boom, footer links. Boom, boom, boom. And in the footer, oh, it's a footer. Let's go with box. We're doing so good with the box, then we should continue. And we're gonna have it yellow. At this point, you don't see the yellow because it is overwritten by our social links. We're gonna be using only the footer. It's gonna be our first one. Then we're gonna have the social links, and then we're gonna have our footer links. So let's open all of those. We need to import the footer links. Cool. That's how they're gonna look like. They're gonna be on top of each other. So we don't need any display flex here. So let's go with the social links. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have Twitter and YouTube. Copy, where's the copy? There we go. Netflix, source, components, and we're gonna add them to social links. I'm gonna paste them here, and we're gonna work with them. Let's put them in a folder called assets, just to have everything nice and organized. Okay, you know what? Let's create their own icon components. So it's gonna be like this. We're just gonna create all of these components and we're gonna put them here. Facebook icon .gsx. There we go. And in here, so we actually didn't need to import the assets. If we're just gonna do it like SVG style, you can just do it like this and then import the component essentially. Facebook icon. And now in here we can import. So now the return needs to be like this because it's not going to be one line. Then we can import Facebook icon. And let's see. Yes, nice, cool. I'm happy to see that it works because usually Images and SVGs can be quite stressful. I'm gonna repeat that for all of the icons, so feel free to join me in that. That should be capital because components are always capitalized. YouTube, and let's Command A. Nothing that we don't know of. We have already done that. So I do Command Shift S, which means save as, which takes essentially the whole thing and creates a new file with the content of it. And then I can just change the content that I want myself without like going in and doing copy this file, paste this file, do this, do that, which is also a valid option when you need it. But at this point, I think I want to do it like this. Instagram icon. Oh. By the way, if we're still not friends on Instagram, then what are you waiting for? We have a lot of cool stuff there. I share a lot on Instagram, and like you can participate in decisions I make regarding YouTube and which content to make, and follow me on there and say hi. So we have all of the icons. Let's import them. So in which order it is? So first we have Instagram, and then we have Twitter. By the way, did you see the new paid thing from Twitter? They have now a separate troll version. I don't know if it's rolled out everywhere. I'm also not using that much with Twitter. I feel like it confuses me a lot. But I know that there is a huge community of developers there. So you can also check that one out. Okay, YouTube icon. That's gonna drive me nuts, right? This underline, but who cares? So let's again define classes for these icons on here. And we're gonna name them footer. No, we're just gonna name them icon link. Also, I feel like I have a lot going on in my mind that I'm not sharing, and that probably can seem confusing to you, because let me know if I'm also jumping ahead or if it's okay to follow what I mean and how my process of thoughts, is that how it's called? Process of thoughts? Thoughts of process? No. Process of thoughts is working, and because I also want to share that. I think it's pretty helpful to see how other people code and kind of like expand your vision on things, or maybe somebody clicked on something that you haven't ever seen or noticed. Let me know if that's clear, because I think I can improve there a lot, but it would be nice if my point actually gets across. Now in the social links, we need to go to the icon link. So in our social links CSS, we're gonna create .icon link. It's gonna have a margin, but before that we should probably have a display flex on this one, so we will know how much of a margin we need. Display flex, and then align items, as we already know, center. Yeah, nice. Now we want a margin right, because our items are aligned to the left and we want to push them like this, right? Because our Facebook needs to be aligned first with like the whole alignment thingy. You know what I mean? Margin right, 1 rem as well. Yeah. Okay, looks nice. I think the Facebook can be a little bit smaller. I think it's a little bit too big. 32, 33. Yeah. And Instagram as well, a little bit too big. Why not this one? By the way, let's remove the assets folder. We don't need that anymore. And Instagram icon can be 32, 32. Yeah, that's nice. But all of these icons are actually a link, right? Why do I keep on forgetting that? So our social links, this is actually not going to be a div, it's going to be an A tag. So it works even better for us. Let's select all of these occurrences, and we're going to put an href of, put their hrefs actually. Facebook.com, Instagram.com, Twitter.com. I hope they're all .com, I'm gonna check it now. And YouTube.com. Yay! Yeah, so you see now that we're hovering on them, you can actually open them. Now let's do the footer links. And for that, can we copy this? Ugh, fine, let's not be lazy. Okay. I really dislike putting copies. Like, even at work, the product manager puts the copy because I cannot be bothered. Const links. And again, it's going to be just an array. So as far as I know, I think it goes like in order of a row. Yeah. So audio and subtitles, audio description. Also, probably this would not be an array usually, it would be an object, and I'll show you why. So what I said that this usually would be an object because you also need the link of the link, so not only the name of it. Usually you would have instead of just a string, an object with probably a name, which is, let's say, contact us, and then you would have the actual link of like contact us or something like that. But we're just playing around with the UI, so we don't need this precision. I still don't know if you would like to have it as an API challenge as well. So I'm gonna just do it like this. We're gonna be returning in the footer links. It's gonna be again a UL, which is going to have a loop, links.map, link, you pass the link, and then you open parentheses again, and then inside of here you're gonna render in a li, which has a key of link as well as the content of the li is the link. Cool, so this is what we have. Now remember that we have a reset thing in another component. We're gonna do it here as well. Class name styles dot links list. So we want margin 0, padding 0. What was it? List style none. Yeah. And we're gonna have a display flex. Wait a second, why I didn't put it as an A again? Li, and then in here we're gonna have an A tag, and no, and then the href a slash. Yeah. So what do we need to do is to let it wrap itself, but we also need something that is gonna define this specific width. How do they do that? Oh, they have a flex basis of 25. That's smart. So this body is going to have a class name of styles.link, and we have flex basis of 25%. And I think here we also need to define flex wrap. Yeah, nice. Then we also have height. Oh, where is it? In here. Ah, there is a padding bottom. We don't have it. Oh, it's a margin bottom of 16. You can do that. Margin bottom, 1 rem. Yay! And I saw somewhere that the font size, yeah, there it is, it's 13 pixels. So font size is gonna be 0.8 rem. Looks right. And then dot link and A, we're gonna do text decoration none, and the color is gonna be, let's check here which color it has. That's the color. Okay, it's just gray. If you click on it, then you can get this value, and that's what we want. Now, if we're going to remove our horrendous background colors, let's see, social links. I'm gonna remove this. Yeah, and the yellow is probably from the footer. Yep. Yay, look at this. I think it looks quite good, right? Except that they have like a nicer font, but we don't have that, which is okay. This thing has a margin between them. Let's also add that. That's the div, and the margin that they have is 8. So the footer, social links, we can add here a div and do a class name styles.social links. In the footer, we're just going to do that. Boom, margin. If I do MB, then I can select this, margin bottom 0.5 rem. Yep. I'm not really calculating like all the REM and I know it all in my head, but after you kind of like get the hang of using it, then you can understand how one REM or another is going to look like. But if you're new to REM, then there is a calculator, pixel to REM, and yeah, so you can switch here. For example, we did a 0.5 REM, which means 8 pixels. Look at that, I wasn't even right. And here it says calculation based on a root font size 16 pixels, which you can change. But that's usually the standard. And here you also have a table which you can refer to. This can be helpful if you are not familiar with REM, but you do want to use it and you're not sure how to calculate it all the time. So we have the footer. Nice. Now we need to do the titles and the billboard. Let's check how those look like. Okay, we can actually now check like the normal thing because before that, you know, there was like something else here. Let's do the billboard. You wanna do the billboard? Let's do the billboard. I feel like this can be one of the hardest ones, but let's go for it. Okay, we're doing billboard. As far as I know, this is actually an image. Okay, so the image is only for this part. Okay, so hold on. We have our whole, where's the billboard? This is the billboard. That's the whole billboard. That's where it starts. It has some tracking information. Okay, so you know how this can be also a video?
This is not format.
In our case, it's not gonna be. It's gonna be just an image. We're not gonna work with videos here. However, if we check how they do that, they put it in a position absolute. So basically, they want the image to start from the top of the screen. They don't want it to start after the navigation. So they want to kind of like to detach it from the dome and put it like to the top of the window. We're gonna be doing that. That's fine. The width is 100% and the height is 56.25 view width. Yeah, so it's like it takes the width of your screen and it takes 56.25 of it and then it transfers it to the height of it. This way you maintain the ratio of the video or the image. So, you know, like the ratio aspect here, this diagonal, needs to be maintained, and that's the trick how those ratios are being maintained. Usually you can Google that or look it up with a term called the CSS ratio aspect, and you can find a lot of information about it there if you're interested in the topic. Let's go to our billboard then. Billboard, and I'm gonna, well, let me open the CSS, and then we can close the sidebar. So our billboard is here. It's actually under our navigation and it's also having this space here, but we actually want the whole image to be like kind of like on top of everything. So in order to do that, we need to give our billboard a position of, not inherit, of absolute. So absolute and relative positioning works together. If you define an element that has a position absolute, it's gonna search for the first element that has position relative higher up in the tree, and it's gonna consider that its parent to which it's gonna like position itself. If you don't define ever any element with a position relative, then the window has a position relative and it's gonna go to the window then. However, here we see that they do define a position relative element, which is the parent of the billboard, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna copy this position relative, top 0, left 0, right 0. So it means go to the top, left, and right, and kind of like stretch yourself. So this is gonna be our billboard. And then inside of it, we're going to have another div. So the return needs to be now wrapped in parentheses. And this div is going to have a class name of styles.inner billboard. Or again, you can do the boxes. You see, it's like it really changes by according to your mood or whatever you're affected by. And this one is gonna be position absolute. Let's see if this helps. What? Oh, because we don't have anything in it? It's still in here. Why is it still in here? We want you to detach yourself. So what I did is that I put our billboard on top of the navigation. This way it can appear here. But I'm still not sure what's happening. Let's figure it out as we go. Right, so it has like a margin top of minus 70 pixels, which is the height probably of the Netflix. I'm gonna go here. Would that solve the issue? Yeah. Cannot see our billboard anymore. Color, light. Yeah, we don't have it. Maybe that was too much. So the A is here, but the margin, I think we need to reset the margins of it, of this container. Margin 0 everywhere, or minus, so we're going to be resetting the margin that we have on the sides. So we have the 0 from the top, and then on the sides we have 40. So we have 0 and minus 40 pixels. Yeah, now it works. I'm not sure if that's properly and if that's correct to do that. I have tried behind the scenes, to do the padding way as they did, because remember we had like this, oh, why are they using padding if it makes more sense to use margin? And I thought maybe that's why, but that didn't change anything, so I'm not sure why still that happens, but this fixes it. So let's go with that. Now let's go back to our billboard, and here we need to have this image that we see on the background, which comes from here. Let's just open it, and we're just gonna download it. Whichever episode or thing you have now in Netflix, if you are doing that along with me, and you have your Netflix on, then feel free to grab it from there. Otherwise, I'm gonna use this abstract series and I'm gonna include the assets. So you have all of them and you don't need to take care of even having the Netflix account, because maybe you don't even have it. We also have this one, which grows to be bigger and smaller. Okay. And that's it. Okay, so now I saved it into our asset. So I'm gonna put the assets in the billboard component, and we should see them now here. There are assets, and we can import them. Import, should we call it BB? BB sounds like BB cream. Billboard. Hero image from assets / billboard. And another one, we're gonna have billboard hero title. And we are going to put it in here. Image with the source of billboard hero image. As an alt, we're gonna write preview of the series. Actually, we're not gonna write preview, because as far as I remember in alt, there's like suggestions not to write preview or image off, because it's kind of like self-explanatory. So you can save the space and you can write actually more meaningful things. So well, let's see what we get. All right, I think we have an issue. Let's do maybe a z index of 0. No, maybe -1. Yeah, cool. So you see how everything now is on here. We also need something that is going to push down the content, which is probably going to be also our title. Let me think about it. Okay, let's just put the image and see how they behave. Billboard hero title. And what do they have in the title as an alt? And here they don't have an alt for that. Okay, we're gonna do the same. Maybe because it's just a background image, then you don't need to have that. Okay, it's here. So now we need this to have a position absolute towards the previous image. So we're gonna do here another div, and we can do a class name of styles.title, and here we're gonna do title and position absolute as well. And let's see where it gives us. Doesn't give us shit. Because we should define top 0, for example. Make it a little bit bigger, but no. So we spoke about the height here, remember? Title logo, what do they have? They have probably a certain, so they have a width of 100%. And then, yeah, there we go. That's the relatives that they have. And that's a wrapper for transformation, because sometimes it can be bigger and smaller. Wow, okay. Okay, so this is our equivalent of the Billboard class. And then we have this body, which is the info meta layer. In our case, it's our title, but maybe it should be something else because we also have 2 buttons here. Let's just write info. Info always works. So our info is having a position absolute. We also have that. Top is 0, bottom left, and all these things. Let's copy them because those are like very specific. I had once a website where I had kind of like a similar thing. That was like in the beginning of even creating my junior portfolio, and for every device width you had to like adjust them, and you had tons of media queries. So I'm gonna save us the time and we're just gonna copy that, and that's why I also said that we're doing only 1 screen size at a time, because that can be way too much to do. Let's see if that works for us. That didn't do what we expected, but that's because we also didn't save here. Yeah, cool. And then the width is 100%. Transition, we don't care. We also need a height, don't we? Like, where does this come from? This whole thing. Okay, there's another one here. And then there is a small one. So where does the logo and text and meta layer get their height from? When I don't know where something comes from, I'll go to compute it, and here is all the list of everything. And this looks like it's automatically generated. How come? There it is. That's the ratio we were searching for. So that's our billboard. That's this. Yeah, look at this. Let's remove the background color. Don't need it. Oh, nice. The only issue is now that the navigation is at the bottom. That we can fix. This we can go to the navigation and have it also position absolute, not relative, absolute, and top 0. Yeah, so now all the time our navigation is going to be on top. However, when we scroll, we also want to have the navigation. So let's have it fixed. So this time we scroll and the navigation is with us. We also probably need to define the width, that it's 100. Do we need the width, or should we define left and right? Well, the width is okay, but now it's too much. What about right 0, left 0? Yeah, cool. But that's not what we wanted. Maybe we need to have the margin, which is 0 and 40 pixels. Yeah, cool. And now we have our navigation. And what else do we need to add? We were in the billboard topic. Right, so we got the things pushed down, which we wanted. Now we need to figure out how to make this thing smaller. Or let's first add the buttons, so we at least have the feel, the same feel here. So one thing that I didn't notice is that when I hover on this, you see there's like the flexbox thing. Interesting. Let's mimic that. They have a display flex. And then they have flex direction column and justify content flex end. So flex direction column. So we don't want things to wrap up. We just want the flex properties, but still keeping the divs in as div block. Then we have justify content flex end. And look at that! Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, that's interesting. So how did that happen though? So we have an element here, the billboard, and then we have the inner billboard. We have the image, which is our cover image. How did that happen? Oh, right, because we have our top, and then we have the bottom 35%, which probably, come on, select this, which gives us the end around here, right? So like where this thing ends. And the left is 4% and the width is 36%. Yeah, okay. Very interesting. I haven't seen this being used like that. Okay, okay. I think this is still a little bit quite big, right? Maybe it's gonna shrink with the buttons. But also, our image is a little bit bigger. Well, who cares? It looks the same. So, buttons. 2 buttons are living here. Let's go to our billboard, and this is going to be inside of the info button, play, and button more info. So in general, you would probably have a button component that you're going to pass properties to that you can define if it's a primary button, if it's a secondary button. But this is not a JavaScript React video, it's a Clone UI video. So we will need to have a display flex in here, class name, styles dot, how does Netflix call it? When in doubt, billboard links, or let's just call it links. So this is actually a link, it's not a button, which makes sense because in here everything is about being redirected somewhere. Except for this one. This one I think is a button. This is not a... This is a button, yeah. And that one is a link. And one is also a button. No. We'll keep this a link and this is going to be a button. So links, and the container of links needs to be display flex because we want them to be next to each other. Yep. Now comes something that we will need to, so we have a button and a link, and we want both of them to look kind of the same with slight differences, but their padding, their border radiuses, maybe initial color and an icon position, it's all gonna be the same. So we're gonna chain here, or not chain, just like write 2 elements that need to look exactly the same, but we're not gonna assign classes to them. That should work. Links A and dot links button. Let's put a background color of lavender, just for the experiment. Don't pay attention to that. Border radius is gonna be what, 4 pixels we said? It looks like Netflix goes with that. Border none. You still can have a radius without the border. We have padding. What's the padding here? 7 and 21. So the top and the bottom padding are going to be what? 0.5 rem and then 1 rem. That's not bad. Let's create our icons. Let's wrap like this. Okay, so the A is gonna have, do they have like a span for that? Inside there is a button, there is a span, and then there is some width, and then there is the icon. We're gonna have the icon, that's a comment, and then we're gonna have a span with the name play in it, and this icon is gonna be its own component as all the other ones are. Copy Facebook, no, we're gonna copy the whole file. Copy, and in the billboard we're gonna paste, and we're gonna name it play icon. Play, and let's go back to our assets that we have. And what is the play? Open with. Yep, copy. If you're wondering where I got those icons from, I actually exported them myself from Figma. So Figma is what is Figma? This is Figma. This is Figma, collaborative interface design tool. It's a design tool, it's a software. And there they also have plugins, and there is one plugin called Iconify or something like that. And you can basically take an icon, let's say you search for Facebook, you find the Facebook icon, you put it on your canvas, and then you can change the color of it, you can change the size of it, you can change, I don't know, whatever you want. And then you can export it as SVG, which gives us all these files here. And that's how you get it. I did it this way because it was quite hard to find a proper icon, and I think for like a pet project and for like a portfolio project, it's absolutely valid to use this kind of way, because usually you would need to check with the license of the icons if it's okay to do that or not, but this is how I got those. So we got the play icon, and now we can also save and write info icon, which is, where's info here? Copy that and put it here. Alright, import our icons. Import play icon from, and info icon. Let's just have it here. But for now you can comment the info icon. I'm going to close the bar, and play icon goes into here. Ooh, nice. A little bit too much for the size that we wanted. Let's see what's this size, 22 by 22. So we can go to our play icon and say that it's 22 by 22. Maybe it can be a little bit smaller, or 18 by 18. And the color is going to be black. Do they use full black? Yeah. So our fill is going to be black, or you can also pass the hex value. It still doesn't look anything remote to what we have. The button and the icon, not the icon, the link, they also have a display flex in them. So we're going to do display flex and justify content space between. So it's going to push them aside to whatever space they have. They don't have much of a space here though. What's the width of this one? How these ones work is that they put here a div, ensuring that it's very consistent, that you always have this space here between the two. Why do they use flex though? What the flex is for? Align item center. Okay. Ooh, look at that. You hover on it and it shows you that they're aligned. See, this is the line that I meant. Can you see it? It's like there's like a purple line and there are two arrows pointing at it, showing where it's going to be aligned towards. Fine. Align items, center. What I think is that in each of these ones, we're going to also have a span. It's a little bit too nested, but let's also practice having nested CSS, span. And this thing is going to have a margin left of 1 rem. This way it's going to push it aside from the icon in a consistent way. Yeah, cool. I think we're also off in terms of the font size. It's 14. So font size 0.8 rem. Now links A is going to have a separate thing going on for them because they are a link and they have text decoration, which we need to set to none, and the color needs to be black. Yeah, I still think that the play icon is too big, like way too big. Let's put it 15. Yeah, that's better. But now I also feel like the space here is too big. Why I cannot click on it? We need to put as a, we do have as an index. So what is that? That's the Billboard inner billboard that has -1 is what is blocking us. Can we just remove that? Yeah, but then this thing is here. That's not what we wanted. How come this one little thing is affecting this so much? Do we even need this? We don't. Isn't this supposed to be like -1? Yeah. No. Okay, you know what? One problem at a time. We have the play now, we have the more button. So we have this color. We have our padding, which is 7 and 21. And in our case, what is our padding? Is 8 and 16. So the 8 is fine, but the 21 is quite small. So should it be like 0.5? No, that's too much. 0.2. Okay, we can live with that. The font weight is also bold. And that's why it looks a little different. Yeah, now it looks nicer. Still kind of like weird. It's not too bad. Yeah, it has a margin top of 16 point something something. So in our case, the links are gonna have a margin top of 1 rem. This one has a margin of 9 on the sides, which I assume is just like a thing that their buttons have. Yeah, so we're gonna do the same. Margin right, 1 rem, or it's 0.5. And we actually don't need the bottom because we don't have anything on the bottom. Yeah, cool. This space is quite big. I think it's like 0.5. Yeah, okay. That looks nicer. I still think that the play button is too big. Can we put it to 10? It's really like, yeah, that looks nicer. Okay, it's too small, but I think within our scope, it looks much better. Doesn't it? No, okay, let's put it to 12. Yeah, 12 looks nice. Oh, this one also got fixed. Oh, nice. Didn't do anything and it got fixed. I like that. What's the height of their button? It's 25. And ours is 14. That's why it's so freaking small. The font is 17. Did I change the font? I didn't change the font. Or did I change the font? Font size? Yeah, I did. Okay. Now it looks a little bit more alike. Play icon, I think we can bump you up a size. Yeah. Yeah, that looks alright. Oh, I know what's also different. The color. The background color. That's why ours looks so lame. What? No, where are you going? What? Yeah. So theirs has... Is it just white? Yeah, it's just white. Our link A is going to be background color white. And we're gonna remove the lavender from here. And then we also have this one, which is background color. It has an RGBA, so let's copy it. So RGBA means that the fourth parameter, the A, the alpha, is it alpha? Yeah, it has opacity value. So we're gonna go to links button, and our color is gonna be white, so that's the font's color. And our background color is gonna be this RGBA thing. Ooh, looks a little bit more like this, right? Let's add the info icon. And the info icon is gonna go inside of it. If the user clicks on the icon, it also needs to be clickable. And here we're gonna have a span. I love that it's like autocomplete, but then if it would autocomplete in the right place, that would be nice. Whoa, that's a little bit too big, but I like the size. I think the size, this size, is a little bit closer to what we actually need. 48, yeah. Maybe we need to up our padding a little bit, because maybe our icons have a little bit like of a space around that we don't account for. Padding, this one can be 0.7, for example. Yep. And once we fix this icon to 15 or so, 18 is not bad. Our spacing is off, but if you want to go more precise, then you can go for it. At this point, I think I'm gonna let it pass. Why we don't have this? Okay, let's just add it. Edit text, copy the text, go out to our billboard, above the buttons, but below the image, create another div with the class name, styles, dot, description. And let's see what it gives us. Yes! It also has probably a margin top of 6 pixels. We are going to have it as, let's do that. We have our dot description, margin top of 0.5 rem. I actually prefer to have margin bottoms, because you kind of like just push down whatever you want to have a space from instead of pushing up. I mean, you're not pushing it up. In a tree where everything is kind of like following down, 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 I prefer to kind of like the prior element to say that, hey, whatever is coming below needs to go like with a space. I don't know. That's personal preference. And of course, we're gonna have a slightly different view because our font is different. So you see here there is like a beautiful spacing and all these kind of things, which we don't have. Although I think our font is too small. This one is 17.7. So let's make it a font size of 1.2 rem. Sometimes it feels ridiculous to write 1.1. I think the top needs to be a little more. Yeah, this looks a little bit bigger, because like the consistency in this one should come from our margin top that we give to the buttons. So links, margin top 1 rem. Okay, then let's go also with 1 rem on the previous one. Okay, so we're done with our billboard, and now to the final and the most important part, which is all of this. Yeah. I'm gonna take another breather for like 10-15 minutes and then I'm gonna continue. See you in a second. Alright, this goes on for way too long than I have expected. So let's look what we have. We have this beauty, which is breathtaking. Okay, now we need to go into the titles. Close all of those things and open our component and the CSS. What is our titles? These things are our titles. So what we see here is that there is a row, and in a row there are about, let's say, 10 elements. Every element has an image, and it also has this slider that when you click on it, then it scrolls. But that's also kind of like JavaScript part if we want to add a slider. We said we're not going to be doing JavaScript. We said it's only a clone UI. These components are absolutely the same. The only thing that changes is the content as well as the title of it. So let's do a component. Turn div. Paragraph tag here, which is going to be our little label, but it's not really a label. And then we're going to have our little titles. So what are we going to call it? Let's call it a segment. And in here, let's create a component called segment. So let's go through that again. Segment. So why did I do that? I might be contradicting myself a little bit here. I'm saying no JavaScript, but then I'm going to be using React stuff. There's this tiny thing that is called props in React, which is basically you just send an information somewhere. I'll show you why we need it. Our segment is going to consist here of the title, right? The title is going to be here. And then here we're going to have like 5 or 4 of those images in a row, which is going to be just image, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's also put the placeholder. I even put it here. Let me copy all of them. Copy. components, segment, and new folder, assets, go in, paste it, there we go. Import, placeholder image from assets slash, I actually like this one. We're just doing what we like, right? What's the point in coding if you cannot have fun? And our understanding of fun can be very different. I also know that. So we're not gonna see anything because I still didn't include it anywhere. Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum. Where do we want in titles? Here we need to import the segment. Import segment. Nice. Okay. We're getting there. We are getting there, friends. A segment in our case is a row, right? A segment of a training now or watch it again or whatever. So every segment is gonna have a title. What I wanted to show you about this props thingy is that I can have like 5 segments, and I can say that this one's title is going to be popular on Netflix, which is going to be the first one. And then we're going to have another one, and it's going to be continue watching for home, because that's the name of my account. Trending now, and let's go with another one, watch it again. Now when we go to segment, and we can accept the information that we're getting. So this is just not going too deep. That's where it's going to end, I promise. We're not going to do any of that anymore. We're just going to pass the title here. And I'm going to show you why, because this is what we're getting now. You see we have the titles, so we didn't need to actually have 5 images 5 times in this segment thing. That's the only reason why I did it, and that's why I usually use React. However, as we agreed that this is not a JavaScript video, it's a Clone UI CSS based tutorial, code along, call it whatever you want. So this was just like, just follow me, copy that, and it's gonna work. So in our segment, we have our styles, and we actually need to specify that the title is gonna have a color, class name, styles.title, which is confusing, right? Because like we had the titles component, and then we have a segment, and inside of it we have a title. Lack of a developer. Title, color. Which color are they using here? Sometimes they're using white, sometimes they're using off-white, so I'm not sure. Yeah, see, this one is off-white. Am I using this term correct? I don't even know. Is that what off-white means? Yeah, okay. I think it's also font weight. Yeah, it's also bold a little bit, or bolder. Font weight, we do just bold. I think the size of it is smaller, is 14. So font size 0.8 IM. Yeah, not bad. Now we needed to kind of like continue in this line and not be like that. So the structure as it is now, this whole thing is our div. Then we have our paragraph, fine, located perfectly. And then we have this thing, which is our segments, our images. But we want to like control them, so we need to put them in a div and then apply all the classes that we want inside of that div. Make a div and class name, we can call it actually styles. Let's call it a row. This naming is so random. I apologize for that, but I have been recording this video for almost 6 hours now. I can be forgiven. So the row is going to be a display flex, and that's what we have also encountered in other places, that it kind of like went through out of our page view. And in order not to have that, we have a flex wrap, and we say wrap, and then it's gonna wrap it. But that's not what we want. We want it to go out of it, but we also don't want it to extend our page. So I think the property for that is overflow hidden. I think it needs to be applied to this one. Let's try. Class name. So also, usually when you have sliders, you're using some sort of library for that. You usually don't code it yourself unless you're Netflix and you have like hundreds of employees doing that. And this is like where I'm just doing that in Chrome, right? Imagine if we need to do it in Chrome, in Safari, in Firefox, in all the other new browsers that are popping up. You don't want to deal with that yourself. Like, you have way too many things to do. So yeah, we're doing placeholders and just like to get the hang of it, but to pay attention to, kind of like set the foundation if we want to continue with this clone UI and bring it to another level. So we're gonna call it a slider even though it's not a slider, or we can call it segment. Segment. That's like, wow, where did you get that from? Segment. Overflow hidden? Yes! Also, our image is broken, which is lovely. I don't know why. And we can just like put like an icon here that has like this chevron or carrot. No, it's a chevron, right? It's not going to be clickable, but at least it's going to look like it's clickable. And we'll also need to fix this. Okay, one problem at a time. In the row, every image should have a margin right. Let's say 0.5 rem, just to have a space. Yep. And it also should have a border radius, 4 pixels. Yeah, not bad. What else do we have? It has a margin bottom. Let's put 1.5. Yeah, that's nice. That is nice. And actually, if you wanna like make it nicer, you could probably like change those images. Let's now add this little button here in the segment. Should we do it here? Let's do it here. Div, or we can do actually a button with a chevron right icon. And we're gonna create this icon for icon.jsx. Where do we have any other icon already existing? This one. Copy chevron right icon. Go to our assets. Chevron right slider. There we go. Open in our Visual Studio Code. Copy and paste it here. Now we need to include it. Import chevron right icon from here. Yeah, okay. Now this button is gonna have a class name of styles dot. I'm afraid I'm gonna call it button. Button. Yeah, button dot button. I actually found out that you cannot target just elements, so you have to apply a class. If I would just do a button, then it's not gonna be scoped. I think because there is no class to apply, then React doesn't. Like, it just doesn't understand that it needs to be scoped. Because you cannot scope a tag, you have to have a class. So that's what I found out. But in our case, button is gonna be, what's the height of it? 165. Yeah. Position, absolute. Yeah. Okay. Bottom, where is it aligned? Let's choose our last one. Now it's aligned weirdly. What if I put bottom? They all went to the same place? No. I think we need to define a position relative here. Yeah, perfect. So you saw what happened. Because there was no position relative on the segment element, they went to the first position relative that they found, which was this whole container here. Oh wow, it also fixed this thing. Okay, we like this. And that's why you need to define position relative on the container, which you want to define the relativeness to, or you get the point. We want it actually to be on the right side, so we do right 0. It is like such a simple thing, but because I don't do it every time at work, I'm so proud of myself when I do this kind of things. Also because it just in general took me the longest while to understand how this thing worked when I was a junior, so hey. Background color needs to be something black, so RGBA 000, and we want the alpha because it's a little bit semi-transparent, and let's put it to 0.7. It needs to be way more. Wait, but why is this button looking Let's remove the border, yeah. And what about the transparency? Should we like make it more transparent? Yeah, okay, now it's nicer. So we have this thing and we're not gonna do anything with it because that will involve JavaScript. However, I wanna check what's the color. Oh, okay, so it appears only on hover. So this is, once we hover on this one appears. So first it's gonna have a display none, and if we hover on the row, so row has hover, then our dot button is gonna have a display block. This needs to go here below. Yeah, not that easy, buddy. our button is not inside of the row, but we do want it to affect our hover. At this point, I would just go with putting the button inside of the row, like this. If I refresh, there we go. Yeah, nice. So what this selection means, an element with a class .row, whenever the user is hovering on it, find an element that has a .button class in it, change their display attribute to block. And in our case, the button wasn't inside of our row, it was a sibling element, it was not a child element. We could have done something else here, but in our case, like, you could actually just put the button inside of the row, because I mean, it is inside of the row, right? We're not really doing something that is not as it is. Let's go to navigation, to the styling, and we're gonna give this navigation a Z index of hell of a lot, like 1,000. I know it's unnecessary, but you know. Also, when you scroll, then it should have another, so it should have a color, but scrolling is also being added on, so with JavaScript, because you need to attach an event listener to the window and listen to the scroll. So, not today. Now that we have this, we actually have everything done, don't we? Okay, I have no clue where I have stopped recording, so apologies for that. A little recap, we have a problem with the image. Our margins that we set for our app is kind of like playing games with us, or we have made it play a game with us, so I'm just gonna remove that. You know what? Why don't we remove that from the app in general? Yeah, you see now it has no borders, everything is like this, which we don't want. Okay, let's apply it to the segment, to the titles. This div, and I'm gonna have a class name styles dot. Oh, cool. Okay. And now we're gonna have this one. Is it gonna work? Yeah, it's gonna work. But we actually don't want it on this side, do we? What does Netflix have? No, they don't have it. Oh, okay. So they have it only on this side, on the, what is it, left. So I've been doing it wrong this whole time. Margin, only margin left 40 pixels. Yep. And now the same on the footer. Box, what's the box? Yep. We want to apply the margin left. Yes, nice. Also, I think the footer has quite some space here. I know, okay. This thing has a padding bottom of 50 pixels. That's another point where I would do margin bottom. I don't feel like it's a padding, but pretty sure Netflix has its reasons. In our titles, let's put margin bottom 50 pixels. Let's do 70. Yeah, that's nice. Do we have everything aligned now? Yeah, we do. Okay, so what we can add here is this little chevron icon. Should we add it to the P? Yeah, we can add it as a span. Span, and if you don't want to do the whole chevron right icon again, then let's just copy this and we're just gonna put it here. This is not best practices. This is how you should not be doing that, but this is also a valid option how to do it. However, ideally, you would have it in a component. Now, after I put that disclaimer, I can do whatever I want. So the width can be like that, and the height can be a little bit smaller. Yeah. Okay, I think their chevron is smaller. So what if we do 8 and 8? Yeah. Okay. And class name. So the icon is gonna have a margin left of 0.3. Yeah, that looks nice. What's happened here? Let's go, where is this? This one is the Billboard. And did I remove the 040? Yeah, I did. Oh no, I didn't. Like this? Okay. Nope. Oh my god. The Billboard image and then width 100%. Yeah, did that work? Okay. And now this thing is also aligned. Cool. However, they have this overlap here, and we also want to do that because otherwise there is too much space here. And we love a challenge, don't we? So the titles are going to be... We could actually just do a negative margin. We don't need to do any positions, absolutes, and all this kind of stuff. We just do margin top minus the 70 pixels, and that's gonna do the job. And to be honest, I think it does an amazing job. But we're gonna keep it like that. So if we check here, a little bit more than the center of this, so we need like 150. Yeah, that one's nice. That one's nice. They also have a fade thingy here. How did they do this? This one is an interesting one. Let's see. Background is linear gradient. I'm gonna copy that. And it looks like there is like a small div here. Yeah, so there is the image. And then there is a div at the bottom that has that. And only on this side, because here, like towards the right side, they don't care anymore because they don't have it. Ah, smart. I wouldn't do it like that though. I think that I would rather have it like fully covered just in case. I'm gonna go to the billboard. And in the billboard, a little bit bigger, we have the image, this image. It's gonna be an empty div, and we're gonna have a class name of styles.fadeout, and we're gonna open our CSS, fade out, and we're gonna paste this. You also probably need to give it a height, because a div, if you don't put anything inside of it, it's just gonna be a tiny div with nothing. So this body is taking the height from somewhere, but from where? Fine, you know what? We're just... Wait, what is this? This is another one. I have two. Oh yeah, that's what we're gonna do. I was probably doing the wrong one. So they have an opacity at bottom, at top, a height. Interesting. Okay, let's copy this. Let's copy this whole thing. Remove this and save it. And let's see if we get something. Of course we don't. So we were missing position absolute. Because again, we want like an overlapping element, and that cannot be achieved with just the regular structure of the element because they all go one after the other. So there you go. Let's see that we didn't break anything while doing that. Nice. Okay, let's just add the cursor for this one, which was in Billboard, cursor, pointer. Yes, cool. This is our thing here. We forgot to add like a pointer here. You can do that. And I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. And I think you can understand why. So, if you have enjoyed this and would like to see a next episode of that, we could cover there how to do this, how to do this, and how to do this little parts, and maybe the hover as well. What do you think? I think in general we did an awesome job. That was my first time doing that and took you on a journey of that. I hope that was not too lame, but yeah, it's like taking you out of your comfort zone a lot, especially for a person who is already working as a front-end web developer, to do this kind of things from scratch without any libraries, without any frameworks except of React, but without any CSS help, you know. And as you can see, the things that I didn't know, I just copied them from Netflix. The thing about CSS, the field is so huge that there is, like, you really learn by use cases. It always depends on the practice you have. And yeah, so it was fun to kind of like brush it off and see what we can do. It takes way too long, so I think next time I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna stream it. So let me know if you're gonna be up for that, and I'm very looking forward to reading everything you have to say in the comments, and I hope this was somewhat helpful to somebody, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!